Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I was at a concert just 2 or 3 days ago with my twin sister. I had a lot of music to play and it went very well. And I wasn't the only one playing. There was a girl who was probably a preteen or a teenager that was playing, and she was playing the saxophone, which is my major instrument. And she was playing a song with her mother who was playing flute. Now, she had a terrible time getting that instrument to play. She blew, and during that first note, she tongued it, she blew, it didn't want to play. There's no way I could mimic the sound that it made. But as I thought about it, either the reed was not wet enough, or the instrument was too cold, or the reed was too stiff in order for her to play it. And she was like blowing and blowing, and it was resisting. You could hear a little bit of sound. Then finally she got it to play, and she played what she wanted it to play, but it was almost embarrassing because she was having such a time with it. And I noticed that before she was playing, she was in the corner and she was trying to get her instrument warmed up. Everybody does that. But the way she did it was so unusual. What she did was she took the neck piece off from the instrument, and then she tried to blow into the next piece. Now I'm going to take this down for a moment because this is something I want you to see. I brought in 2 pictures of a saxophone. Okay, so here are 2 pictures of a saxophone to the left and to the right, and that's good. I'm going to go probably most with this one here, but this is a drawing and this is an actual photograph of the saxophones. They're very beautiful instruments. This is the neck piece right here. It goes from the mouthpiece. This is the mouthpiece. The neck piece goes from the end of the mouthpiece to where the main body of the instrument is. And I'm looking for my pointer here. Mouthpiece, this is the ligature right here that I showed you on the last segment, and it screws and the reed would be right here. And this is the neck piece. This is a tenor saxophone, so it has a crook in it. This is the octave mechanism right here. This is where most of them are. This would be an alto saxophone because there's no crook in it. And here's your octave mechanism right here, the mouthpiece, the ligature, the screws to it, and this whole piece here is called the neck piece. So you've got mouthpiece, neck piece, mouthpiece, neck piece, then the main body of the instrument, and this is the bell. This is the bell. Now, what she had done to try to warm the instrument up, because she was playing and it was too cold for it, she took the neck piece off, which is not unusual. We all do it when we put it away. And she took the mouthpiece off, and she was either trying to blow across the octave mechanism or trying to blow. She had it up to her mouth like she was trying to blow into the bottom of the neck piece. Now, that would be not a good thing to do. I mean, it wouldn't hurt the instrument, but how can you warm up an entire instrument if you're blowing into one section of it and the air doesn't even get to the main instrument? It would be like I took one of my recorders and I said, I really need to warm this up before I play, so I take the head joint off and I blow in it. How is that going to keep this warm, get it warm? Because it's not going to, but no one had ever told her that. And this was a mistake she made. I think the instrument was not properly warmed up. So how do you know when an instrument is ready to be played? You know, they have to play. An instrument needs to be played in room temperature. Let me show you this little guy. Since I brought it in, I just thought it was cute. It's one of my collections of toy saxophones, and it does play. This instrument is playable. Not exactly in pitch, but you can go into a chord. You know, it can even play in a chord. But this would be the mouthpiece right here. This would be the neck piece right here. I'll show it to you on your side. You'll see it a lot better. And of course, this is all plastic, and it's all the same color, so you're not going to be able to see where the ligature is. But the ligature is right here. Trust me, I'm pointing to it. And this is going to be the mouthpiece. And this whole part here, the curved part, is going to be your neck piece. She had taken that off and was blowing into it. It had no connection to the rest of the body of the saxophone. So therefore, it would not warm anything up. Instruments should be played in room temperature. Not too cold, not too hot. If you have an instrument, never store it in the attic or in the cellar. Attics get unmercifully hot in the summer, just unbelievably hot, and that's very, very, very damaging to an instrument. If you have like a digital piano or a keyboard and it works as a digital keyboard, you will damage all of the reeds in it if you keep it in an ultra hot temperature, like if you put it into an attic. Putting it in a cellar is just as bad because usually it's way too moist for it and you can do damage that way. Or if you stick it in a car. I have an instrument that I was given to me. It was one of my niece's instruments, nieces or nephews. It was like it was a song flute. I've had it in here before, and it plays well. But when I got it, we were riding in my brother's car, and they flipped it over to the back seat where I wasn't and said, "Here, Auntie Pat, we don't want this anymore. It doesn't play." And I'm thinking to myself, why would it? You know, I didn't say anything to them about it. I eventually got it so it would play, and it plays very well. But you do a ton of damage if you have your instruments in the wrong temperature. And one of my pet peeves, and I don't think there's anything I can do about it, but when you have these massive marching bands in parades, and it's snowing and it's raining, they take the instruments out and they play them anyway. And that's just very bad, very damaging to an instrument. We used to wear parkas. We used to wear plastic, like little tent things, if it were raining or snowing, because I was in marching bands. And we would have our instruments almost underneath the parka so it wouldn't get so much rain on it. But that's not healthy for an instrument. So it would be better just to have no music or march down the street without playing an instrument rather than have it exposed to the weather like that. So keep your instrument in even room temperature, not too hot, not too cold. The cold is very, very damaging to it. The heat will destroy it as well, so it needs really regular room temperature. I think maybe the cold is a little bit worse. I know this child that was playing this solo with her mom had trouble. I think the instrument had not been warmed up. So how do you warm up an instrument? You would take the mouthpiece, you would take the reed off from the mouthpiece, and you put the reed in your mouth and you soak it there. And then you attach it to the instrument, say after 2 or 3 minutes, and you gently blow. You blow in the top of the instrument, and the air goes all the way down the instrument, and it gradually warms up the instrument. And if the instrument is out of pitch, it will gradually raise the pitch because heat helps the instrument have a higher pitch. And if it's flat, it may be that the instrument is too cool and it needs to be warmed up so we can get to its pitch right. And so that's the way you would do it. Blow in it gently, keep blowing in it and keep blowing in it and keep blowing in it. But the instrument should be together when you're doing that, because if you don't, then you're only blowing in part of an instrument. The rest of the instrument is still cold. So when she took her neck piece off and blew into the neck piece, this was not getting the advantage of any warm air at all, so it was still cold. She put it back together, and she's playing it, so she's got a warm instrument up here and a cooler instrument down here, and it just wasn't going to work for it. You know, instruments are sensitive. They're sensitive to temperature changes. They're sensitive to all kinds of weather changes, and so therefore this is the way that you would have to do it. I just wanted to explain that to you, because if you just pick up an instrument and play, You might be able to do it with a flute because you're not blowing into a flute in the same kind of way. But most instruments won't be cooperative if they're not prepared. And a lot of times people will say, "Are you going to be playing?" And I say, "Yes, I'm preparing my instruments for it." And I do prepare my instruments. I don't just pick it up and play. Now, the recorders are simpler because they're basically all plastic and there's no reed that you have to work with. But if you have a wooden recorder, which is more expensive, it's going to be the same. It needs even temperature. Even plastics need to have a warm temperature. I know when I was practicing for we were rehearsing for the concert that I was in a couple of days ago, I asked my twin sister, "Is it warm in there? What's the temperature?" Because even in a metal instrument like a trombone, French horn, or a plastic instrument that like recorders, or even a metal instrument like a penny whistle, Irish flutes, that kind of instrument, you can actually crack the wood if you are playing it and take it too abruptly from a cold to a warm environment. And so she assured me that the area was going to be warm. They turned the heat on. There's an organ in there, so they needed to do it for the organ anyway. And she also explained to me that for an organ, and I don't play organ, so I'm only repeating what she told me, it's better to have consistently cool, or consistently warm than go from hot to cold, hot to cold. So it's in the winter, they turn off the heat for a sanctuary, for a church, and the organ is sitting there in cold temperatures. Then they want to play it, and they're going to have a service. They turn the heat on, they warm up the sanctuary, and that organ is going from cold to hot, or warm. And that's very bad on it. That's not good for it. Better to be consistent and have the same temperature all the time than to keep bouncing back and forth. So that's what I really want to tell you. If you're going to play an instrument, take the reed. If it's a reeded instrument, and that's what you would have if you're having a woodwind, blow into it. Even with a recorder that has no reeds, it makes no difference. Blow into it, gradually get it warm, and it will get to the pitch where it needs to get. It'll do that automatically on its own, and when it's warm enough, then you can start playing and it'll be all right. Try to play it when it's too cold. Even the recorders have trouble with it. I had a flute that I was playing, and I was playing for a service, and my sister was the organist. And during rehearsal, the church was really, really cold. They didn't want to put on the heat because they didn't want to heat it up just for a short rehearsal. My flute had trouble playing. It just didn't want to play. It was a little squeaky or squawky. The notes weren't quite right. It just didn't sound good. Put it in an environment where it gradually warmed up. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. I was playing clarinet for a clarinet solo, and we had put the instrument in the back seat of the car, and we traveled a couple hours to get where we were going to play. And by the time, even though we had the heat on in the car, and we were comfortable, and we assumed there's heat going in the back too, when I took the clarinet out, it was flat. It was a good step flat because it wasn't warm enough. And then when I gradually blew into it and played it and just gently played it and got it going again and got the temperature up in it, then it went back into perfect pitch. So, you can do a lot of damage to an instrument if you don't prepare it properly and basically keep it in room temperature. I don't care what kind of an instrument it is. I don't care if it has a reed or if it's non-reeded or whether it's plastic or metal or wood, whatever it is. It's got to be in just consistent temperature, room temperature, 65 to 70, wherever you keep your house, and just keep the instruments in a case, but not next to a window where it's going to get cold air, not on a windowsill where the air is going to kind of get into it. It has to be in a place where it's going to have the advantage of having normal air on it, and it'll be able to play anytime. Now, what I want to do is to show you some of the readings of music. I'm going to take this down, And I'm going to play a piece. We don't have a whole lot of time. What I don't finish today, we'll finish next time. But I want to play a piece, whoops, if I can get it up here without ruining it. And this is a piece that I wrote, and what I'm going into is the music that I'm playing is music that I've written, and I want to show you how to read music, how to read it almost like it's a book. So I'm going to play this. It isn't long. It's got some easy markings on it that you can easily understand. And when I finish that, we will start the language of music, the various signs and the symbol that musicians use. But I want to start and play this first and explain this to you. This is just a simple little piece that I wrote, and it has a repeat in it. So let me play that. Now, I changed it a little bit, but basically that's the piece. So what did I do? I don't have time to play it again, or I would, but if you take a look at the music here, you start off with 4/4 time. This is in the key of G because it has one sharp, and this is a repeat sign, which you don't bother with to begin with. So you play this. It's basically like a little scale that I wrote up like it's a song, and you go here, and you get here. You don't pay attention to this when you go the first time. But when you get to the repeat sign, which is right here, you go back to the repeat sign, which is right there, and you start playing it again all the way through. Now, when you get here, you don't play, when you get here, which is the first ending, you don't play that. You skip to the second ending and play that instead. So, from here to here, repeat, and then when you get to this second ending, you take that second ending instead of playing here, and then you get to the end of the piece. This is all part of the second ending. These double lines indicate that the song is over. These double lines also indicate that the song is beginning, but also the two little dots make it a repeat sign. The repeat sign has got a double line here, and there's a little hole there so that you slow down, which I did. So, and then you go back. Now that's reading music, reading the signs of music. And I'm going to start, maybe I should wait and do this next time. What I think I'll do is next time what I'm going to do is play the song again or play another song, and then I'm just going to go right into the signs of music and how you read it, because there's an awful lot to it. What are the crescendos? What are the pianissimo sounds? What is the hold? What are the phrases? What are the rests? How do you know whether you played loud or soft or fast or slow? How do you know all of that? When do you change from one kind of playing to another kind of playing? It's all written. It's like a book. You do actually read the music. You not only play the notes, but you read the signs that go with it, so you know whether you're going to go loud or soft or fast or slow, whatever it is. So I think next time we'll just get right into it. But this just gives you an idea. You know, repeat sign, you go back to the repeat sign from here to here, and then you just follow the other signs. This is the first ending. Right here. It's a long first ending, but a first ending can be as long as you want. When you go back and repeat it, you skip that first ending and play the second ending. That's why the number 2 is here, and then you get to the end of the song. Once you know how to do it, it makes sense. You look at it and you don't say, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? It kind of makes sense. So that's what we'll be doing, because I really want to get into that. And then after that, I want to do a special segment on on how to clean instruments, how to take care of instruments, because that has been an issue before, what you do with them, what you don't do with them. And I've mentioned that, you know, keep them in normal room temperature and various things that I've mentioned in the past about taking care of instruments. So, and how to clean them and all that. So we'll close it here and we'll get into this next time. Please join me then.